Hello, everyone, and welcome to Consciousness by Clara. I'm Clara. I am a medical intuitive. I am a professional psychic medium, an intuitive life coach, an initiated shaman, and an ordained minister. It's my honor to present videos here to help you heal on all levels. If you have been here before, welcome back. Thank you for stopping back by. If this is your first time, if you like what you hear, please be sure to click the subscribe button. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release new videos, please be sure to click the bell next to the button. That way you'll know next time the video is posted. Today, I would like to talk about boundaries. You know, during this time of isolation, this time when we're all spending a lot more time at home, it is amazing how many people I'm talking with, as I'm still doing sessions by FaceTime and Skype and Zoom. It's amazing how many people that I'm talking to that are at their wits' ends, that truly are not having a good time with this because they're not getting along well with the other people that are living in their house. To be perfectly honest, they're not used to spending this much time together. And it's almost as if when they're talking with me and telling me what's going on and asking for suggestions or how they can work their way through this and have better communication, they're expecting me or wanting me to come up with a witty comment or a colloquial that will allow them to make better sense of this and just basically survive through it. But most of the time, by the time we get through that discussion, we're talking about where they need boundaries and where they have lacked boundaries in the past. Now, this is not a shame-blame conversation. We have to understand that most all of us grew up in a very dysfunctional household. There are very few functional households out there. So when we saw boundaries or lack of boundaries from our parents, when we weren't taught boundaries towards our parents, towards our siblings, towards others, how would you know to have boundaries now? It's been my observation that many people are brought up in not only dysfunctional homes, but very codependent homes. So they kind of lose themselves somewhere in the process. And then unknowingly, when they turn into adulthood and they start having children and have their own families, then they're reperpetrating that same thing without even realizing it. And then one day they wake up and they're not happy, or they're not being treated the way that they want to be treated. And that's what we're here to talk about. So this is a very complex subject. We're probably not going to cover all of this in a 10-minute video. But what I've done is to narrow this down to basically the 10 questions that I use with clients to allow them to see for themselves where they may be having a problem with boundaries. And when I start talking about boundaries, a lot of people tend to think about physical boundaries. I know how far to stay away from people. I know what's comfortable. I know when they're in my personal space. I'm really good about that boundary aspect. And that's great. But those aren't the type of boundaries I'm necessarily talking about. Yes, they're part of it. The boundaries that I'm talking about are more the emotional, the mental, the way that you act and respond and interact with people and communicate with people. And sometimes those boundaries are even with yourself. Think about for a minute if you are in a grocery store, and let's say there's a 5-year-old child, and you are on the cereal aisle. And we all know that the cereal companies and the grocery stores are great for putting those really sugary, flashy color boxes on the lower shelves. Great marketing, but doesn't work well a lot of times for parents. So this mom is trying to pick out a much healthier cereal. And the child is looking at those flashy boxes and pretty pictures and grabs the box and starts telling mom, this is the box that I want. And mom says, no, honey, we're going to do something a little healthier. Yes, that picture's pretty, but we're going to eat a little healthier over here. And this conversation goes on for about 20 minutes. Now, in that 20 minutes, this child has gone from asking nicely to screaming, to crying, to kicking, to stomping, to throwing a temper tantrum, to anything they believe will work. This is a 5-year-old. Well, after about 20 minutes, mom's tired, mom's a little embarrassed, there's more grocery shopping to be done, so she gives in and says, okay, just this one time. So what has mom taught? No disrespect to any moms out there, but when we're looking for a good example for boundaries, this is a good one. And if you think about this and extrapolate it into your life, maybe this is the school PTA that has, I think it's PTO now, that has been wanting you to bake things for school sales and for get-togethers. Or maybe it is your neighbor that is asking you for something. Or maybe it is your spouse or your children. And you really, really want to say no, and you're exhausted, and you don't even know where you're going to fit this in, but yet you still say yes. Any of that sound familiar? So let's go over these 10 questions. And again, I want you to keep in mind, this is not a shame-blame game. Right? This is just identifying where you may be unhappy. Because when we can identify it, we can do something about it. But if we don't know it's there, how do you change it? So the first question, and feel free to grab a pen and paper. That's a wonderful thing about YouTube is if you miss a question, you can rewind it and go back. So number 1, can you say no without feeling guilty? Can you? And it doesn't matter who it's to. If you need to say no, can you say no without feeling guilty? Number 2, can you ask for what you need? Now we're talking about the simple things, but also the more complex things. Let's say that once life is back to whatever normal is going to be for us, and you're back to work and you really need a day, just let's call it a mental health day. You really need to take care of you. Can you ask for that? Can you keep your family from infringing on that and other obligations if you were to take it? Okay, number 3, when you say yes to something, do you say yes because you want to do it, or do you feel obligated? I can hear the sighs. Again, we're identifying things so that if you want to make changes, if you're unhappy about it, we can discuss how to move forward. Number 4, are you living your life according to your own values and your own belief system? This sounds like such a simple question, but you would be absolutely amazed at the number of people, and it does not matter, man or woman, that are not living the way they want to. And sometimes it's because of partners. Sometimes they feel they don't deserve it. Sometimes it's because of children. There can be many, many reasons. But it's important to identify within yourself, are you living according to your own values and belief system? Okay. Number 5, do you feel that you're being treated as an equal in your relationships? This is going to be friendships. This is going to be work relationships. This is going to be your spousal relationship or partnership. Do you feel like you're treated as an equal? Number 6, do you feel supported to pursue your own goals? I know many of you out there have supported all kinds of friends and spouses and children while they pursued their goals, and you were a great cheerleader. But do you feel supported if you chose to pursue something? That's a difficult one to answer sometimes. Number 7, do you feel safe to talk about difficult emotions and to have disagreements with someone? Not always, but sometimes, people who have grown up in dysfunctional households with boundary issues, boundary challenges, don't feel safe to have these conversations. It kind of all wraps together with personal safety issues. And we can work through that. That's not a challenge. But again, identifying what's there. So do you feel safe to have those difficult discussions and to have disagreements with people? Number 8, Do you feel responsible for someone else's happiness? And it doesn't matter whose. Do you feel responsible for your boss's happiness? Or about your spouse? Or your children's happiness? Do you feel responsible for someone else's happiness? And number 9, are you in tune with your true feelings? Have you been living the life that you want so that you know what your true feelings are and how you feel about things out there? Or have you been living behind a mask so long and living by someone else's ideals and belief systems that you don't know what your true feelings are anymore? I see that a lot. And the first thing we have to do is identify, what do you like and what do you not like? And number 10, tying right in with that, do you know what you believe in and what you like? Again, sounds like such a simple question. But when we're children, we have no problem telling people, purple is my favorite color, or yellow is my favorite color, or this is my favorite movie, or this is my favorite song. But you don't hear that much as adults. And a lot of times we get so tied up in everyday life and all the things that have to be done and all the responsibilities and work and home and so forth, and we lose track of what we believe in. And these belief systems can change. Maybe when you're 18, you have one belief system, but by the time you're 40, you've thought it through and seen different experiences and it shifted a little bit. Maybe it went more pro, maybe it went more con. Okay? But the important question is, do you know what you believe in and do you know what you like? So I'd really like you to think about these questions and answer them honestly. I'll do another video, we'll just call this Boundaries Part 1, where we'll talk more about how to work through some of these things, how to come back into alignment with who you are once you find who you are. That is what most of us are finding during this time period, is we've lost track of that somewhere down the road. And we're being gifted with this time at home, with this more quiet time, a quieter society out there, not as many demands, so that we can, if we choose, find ourselves again and realign with ourselves again. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you'd like to have a private session with me, all of the information is below in the description box. I would be happy to talk with you more. Otherwise, have an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon.